about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com.
At Planet Fitness, Leap Day means an extra day of energy. And who doesn't love energy? To celebrate, now through February 29th, you can join for 29 cents down, $10 a month, and pay nothing until March 17th. Even better, you'll get free fitness training and equipment for every workout, with most clubs open 24 hours. So take advantage of your extra day and get energized at Planet Fitness. Join for 29 cents down, $10 a month, cancel anytime, and pay nothing until March 17th. Deal ends February 29th. See Home Club for details.
Old School with DP and J.
Do you think it's too early to talk about Patrick Mahomes as the greatest of all time? You know, to be honest with you, I think he might be ahead of the pace. It was definitely on pace, maybe ahead of the pace. I think right now everything that he does is going to get overblown, and I think people so quickly forgot the 20-year run of the Patriots. Not 5-6 years, 20-year run of Tom Brady and the Patriots.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
We're speaking to Husker baseball assistant Lance Harvell.
It seemed like there was a pretty heavy focus on the JUCO ranks this offseason. What went into the decision behind that approach?
There's something about junior college baseball. You know, if you've been through it, you know that life, what it's about. You number one, you gotta have a passion to play baseball. You gotta grind. Those guys are tough. They're playing double headers, every time out. So you know kind of what you're getting.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Here we go. We're back on the block. Not Strick and Austin. Austin and Nick. Get used to it. Stricky's gone. He will not be tapping in.
Nope.
He is a world away at this point. So wish him safe travels, best of trips to the man Stricky. He did text me last night, though.
Oh, good.
After the game. So
nice.
That was nice. He is alive. He is doing well. So, yeah, we'll look forward to Strick being back. But until then, you're stuck with Nick and I during On the Block.
What time is it where he is at?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I don't know if that's what it is in Thailand.
Hold on. Oh, yikes. It is 3:22 a.m. So Stricky's sleeping.
Oh, Stricky.
Stricky's sleeping right now. It's
so
3:22
a.m.
hours
ahead?
Yes.
My math is correct?
Yeah.
Dang, Stricky.
It's 3:22 a.m. for where Stricky's at. So he's that's current on Tuesday morning. So he's a little over 12 hours ahead of us.
Either a late night or a really early morning if you were going to tap in.
I guess. Yeah. We don't need Stricky. We don't need Stricky at 3 a.m.
4332 LOL Stricky always traveling. Yeah.
Yes.
Being a former NBA player.
Yeah. He's always got
Good
somewhere to be. So no, we'll cover Stricky. Also, I mean, with high school basketball, it helps out quite a bit too.
It absolutely does. We'll talk plenty of Husker hoops, men and women. A lot of conversations I want to have today and then throughout the rest of the week as well. Let's jump into Husker softball here, Nick.
Yeah.
We just led off with Husker baseball. To me, it's another what if sort of weekend.
It is.
To some degree. Nebraska opens the season 2-2 down in Proto Vallarta, blanked by Washington, get on the board late against Duke, then bounce back to beat Long Beach State, Utah Valley. Drop game one at the Troy Classic, win out from there, good response. Then they go to the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic down in Cathedral City. This is a big tournament. Nebraska features in it pretty much every year. tough Friday. They get walked off twice. First 3-2 by San Diego State, then 9-8 to a top 20 UCLA team. That UCLA win, Nick, I think would have been one to really hang your cap on. Even though they're only 19, you played Oregon, you played Utah, who were in that same sort of range. We know just how good of a program UCLA softball is. For the Huskers to have as big of a lead as they did, and then just watch it trickle away run by run, it was painful and just left you wondering, oh, what if?
Well, there was multiple things to it, right? Nebraska, they answered, or I should say, they did everything that you wanted, right? When you're talking about baseball or softball, or frankly any sport, I guess, but specifically baseball or softball here, it's, get on the board first, but then also add insurance when you're ahead, right? Mm-hmm. Nebraska, they got on the board first. They scored one in the top of the first, and they led 1-0. Then UCLA does what a good softball team does, and then they answered with 4 runs in the bottom of the first inning. And then, which, by the way, Maya Brady, Tom Brady's
very good
niece, Tom Brady's niece, homered in the first inning, just like she does so often.
Mm-hmm.
But no, so then what's Nebraska do? What a good team does, and they chip away. So they start to chip away at this 4-1 deficit. Nebraska ends up taking the lead on a Samantha Bland double to center field. Nebraska ends up leading 6-4 at that point. And then what did I just mention? Good teams, they get insurance. Nebraska did that. They get up 7-4 at one point. And then UCLA does what Nebraska just did. They chip away. And in the 7th inning, they score 5 runs to knock off the Huskers. I mean, you look at the box score. The box score here. And Nebraska, like I said, did what it was a tie ball game after the 3rd inning, 4-4. Mm-hmm. It was a scoreless 4th inning. And then Nebraska does what a good team needs to do. They score 2 in the 5th. They score 1 in the 6th. And they score 1 in the 7th while continuing to blank the Bruins. On that bottom of the 7th, that pesky little 7th inning, 5 runs in the bottom half of the frame. It's gut wrenching. Like you said, you get walked off twice to UCLA, walked off twice on Friday. And it's, how do you respond against lesser teams on Saturday?
That's really what it comes down to. I wouldn't say Oregon is a lesser team, but Nebraska had a great response. They blanked the Ducks at 6-0. Probably the best game Nebraska softball's played all year. Yeah. And then a mixed bag on Sunday, right? Nebraska jumps out to a 5-0 lead over Utah, but then they were just out of counter punches. Yeah. That's the bummer, because you have UCLA on the ropes. Just got to finish. Granted, you're in the 3rd inning against Utah, but a 5-0 lead, even with a new pitcher, you'd like to think you could, tag the bullpen for a run or 2 to extend that lead. Nebraska softball just wasn't able to do it. They do wrap up their time with a win over Fullerton. So overall, it ends up being a 2-3 weekend down at the Mary Nutter Classic. Huskers finally come home for the Big Red Invitational, Wichita State and Missouri this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But Nick, to me, the what if, the so close, the competitive against ranked teams, but not always getting over the hump. Mm-hmm. That's why Nebraska went and got Jordy Ball to get them over the top. And that it's in those games where I think you really notice her absence, that Nebraska's 1 pitch away, 1 out away, 1 inning away, where someone like Jordy Ball could maybe slam that door shut or crack it open and give you an opportunity to maybe come back a little more.
Well, I think you look at specifically the pitchers here, and maybe it's not so much role. I think they're maybe still trying to figure out roles. They're also pretty young in the circle. Kaylin Kinney may not be in terms of year in school or year on the program, but don't forget she missed all of last season with a foot injury. So you look at some of those people in the circle. Probably the most experienced pitcher there is Sarah Harness, who was a transfer at the beginning of last year. She has had a really strong start. Sarah Harness has. She's already pitched in 27 2/3 innings. But how about this? She made, let's see, what is that? 5 appearances this weekend.
In all 5 games.
In all 5 games. Allowed just 1 run all weekend. You mentioned the 1 earned run, I should say, all weekend. You mentioned the 5 runs or 5-0 lead against Utah. Sarah Harness in that game against the Utes, 4 2/3 innings, allowed just 4 hits and 0 earned runs. She only walked 1 batter as well. Out of the 21 batters that she faced, only walked 1 of them. You look at previous games against UCLA, once again, a game where Nebraska unfortunately blew the lead. They lose 9-8, but Sarah Harness in that inning, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts in 8 batters faced. No earned runs, no walks. She bounces back with Oregon, 3 2/3 pitched, 3 hits allowed, no runs, just 2 walks against the Ducks. Against Cal State Fullerton, once again, another appearance. She picks up the save. She's been really, really good all weekend. Maybe this isn't the role that they saw her playing as the leader of that pitching room or in that room. But now she's seen herself. Okay, this is where you're at. This is where you're going to be with Jordy Ball's injury.
It kind of feels like, to some degree, Emmett Olson 2 years ago, where he wasn't supposed to be the guy, but he kind of came out of nowhere. So big credit, big ups to Sarah Harness for the weekend that she had. Offense was, I would say, better on the aggregate as well for the Huskers. So definitely a lot of positive signs. Samantha Bland, I think, is going to be really good for the Huskers.
I agree.
Billy Andrews remains very good as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Billy Andrews had herself a heck of a weekend for Nebraska. It felt like every single time I opened up opened up Twitter, it was Billy Andrews, the captain, with a home run.
Billy with a great diving play, Billy with a double,
and to think that Nebraska, I mean, they have both Billy and Brooke, obviously, which I believe Billy has one more year after this year as well, if she chooses to use it. This is her fourth. I know,
Boosters pony up.
And there's got to be some excitement for like Billy, knowing that, okay, you bring back one of the best pitchers in the country, and then also players like Abby Squire return and such. But already this year, how about this for Billy Andrews? She's hitting .475 at the plate with just 3 strikeouts in 40 at-bats. She has 19 hits. She has 3 doubles, 6 home runs, and 8 RBIs this year. Once again, more home runs than strikeouts this year for Billy Andrews to this point, hitting .475, and for having her in the leadoff spot is just so crucial. It's so big, because even if she doesn't get on base, she does what she does, and she can draw out lengthy at bats, which certainly play a role in maybe some tighter margined games. If she's comfortable hitting in the leadoff spot, leave her there. But I almost wonder if better lineup construction might be drop her to the 2 spot. Maybe get an on base, Maven ahead of her, and give her an opportunity to drive in, more runs with the table setter at the 9 spot when the lineup flips over and then the 1. So you're absolutely right. That's definitely something we'll be monitoring for Coach Ravel and the red team. Good weekend at PBA though. Great weekend at PBA. One last thing on Nebraska softball, they'll be totally fine. They are a regional caliber team with or without Jordy Ball. It was with Jordy Ball, you talked about hosting regionals and maybe even a super regional. Yeah. So that's where the difference comes into play. Nebraska softball is going to be just fine at 8-6 here currently, because their schedule also lighten up. They play these ranked top 20 teams almost every single year. They don't always show up against them. They've shown up relatively well. It's just been able, been the issue of holding on to leads when they got them. But great weekend at PBA. That's what we're talking about next. Husker women started off with a win on Saturday. Husker men followed up yesterday. We'll talk about the games and maybe even what John Beilein had to say after the game on the Big Ten Network. He's Nick. I'm Austin. This is On the Block, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. We'll be right back.
If your home heating system is making strange noises or just doesn't work like it should, call your friends at Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Sign up for Bryant's exclusive ESP service protection plan. You'll get twice annual complete and thorough service on all brands. Evenings, weekends, or holidays. Schedule your heating check today and ask about Bryant's ESP plan to save money. Call 467-1111 or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Stop by the brand new Midwest Bank this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for their grand opening. J&DP will be broadcasting on-site for Old School, and there will be tons of prizes available for anyone who stops by, as well as complimentary food and drinks. That's this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Midwest Bank on 70th and Pioneers.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, expecting sunny skies. It'll be breezy and incredibly warm as well. We'll see a high around 80. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 42. And tomorrow, increasing clouds throughout the day, falling temperatures too. See a high around 50. I'm meteorologist Kyle Tucker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
On the block with Strick and Austin.
We're speaking to Husker baseball assistant Lance Harvell.
Seemed like there's a pretty heavy focus on the JUCO ranks this offseason. What went into the decision behind that approach?
There's something about junior college baseball. You know, if you've been through it, you know that life, what it's about. You number one, you got to have passion to play baseball. You gotta grind. Those guys are tough. They're playing double headers, every time out. So you know kind of what you're getting.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here talking about the great weekend at Pinnacle Bank Arena for Husker Hoops. Talked a lot about the men's game. We'll get there in just a sec. And to start hour number 2, I had a fun project over the weekend you won't want to miss. It's a little brazen. It's a little bold. I'm calling my shot, but hey, that's what we do here. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about the women's game. They actually won by a bigger score than the men did. It was 70-51. The Nebraska women take down, say, Minnesota Golden Gophers team. Revenge on the mind again. Nebraska lost to Minnesota previously. And Nick, this ends up a 19-point game at 70-51. Nebraska led by 29 points before Minnesota finished the game on a 10-0 run.
Yeah.
A 20-8 first quarter. Nebraska wins every quarter, which is a great sign. Maybe the most dominating performance start to finish we've seen from Husker basketball against the conference team this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I just, so senior day for the Huskers, and I walked away from that one just continuing to think how much Jazz Shelley has done for Nebraska. I mean, and how much of obviously a fan favorite she is, but I don't think you can put into words what she's done after transferring from Oregon. I really don't. I mean, she first team All Big Ten. She's been on watch lists. She's been on Player of the Year award watch lists. She's had triple doubles. She's beaten Iowa. There's so much that I think Jazz Shelley has done and she's so consistent in it. And she's fun to cheer for because she doesn't just score points. She doesn't just rebound well. She facilitates, she controls the game. I found out, I just keep remembering, I keep going back to like, Nebraska was so fortunate to have Jazz Shelley transfer. And part of it, I'm sure, is that Izzy Bourne was here. And you had, and Ruby Porter. A lot of people are forgetting like Ruby Porter. There was a moment where Nebraska's three of their best players were all Australian, and it was Jazz Shelley, Izzy Bourne, and Ruby Porter. And so it's going to be tough to see next year without Jazz Shelley. There's obviously a lot of excitement around the team because of their recruiting classes. And I think Nebraska's women's basketball is in a really good spot when you look at Logan Nisley. Natalie Potts just won her 7th Big Ten Player of the Week, Big Ten Freshman of the Week. She's probably going to wrap up a Big Ten Freshman of the Year, which don't forget now that's going to be the second time in the last 3 years that Nebraska wins Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Alexis Markowski won it her first season, suiting up for the Huskers. So I think when you look at Nebraska's future, it's really, really bright because you have some recruits obviously centered around Britt Prince, but current Huskers, Logan Isley, Callan Hake, Natalie Potts. You have one more year of Alexis Markowski. Allison Widener's one that people forget about. She's still going to be coming back. And then not to mention, Amaya Hargrove in the form of when she comes in out of the recruiting class as well. But man, it's going to be tough not seeing a player like Jazz Shelley on the floor next year for the Huskers.
It absolutely is. And that's where the conversation we'll have in the offseason is, oh, well, yeah, Britt Prince, that's a 1-for-1 replacement.
Yeah.
No, there's always a learning period. There's always an acclimation process. Britt Prince will be good in college. I have no doubt about that. But don't expect her to step in and be Jazz Shelley from the jump, which is where, Nick, I think having Alexis Markowski back is huge to take some pressure off of her next year.
Yeah.
Alexis Markowski has been a walking double-double for like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Jazz Shelley is Nebraska's best player, but Markowski still gets a lot of headlines. I'm curious to see if Nebraska's ceiling and or floor are any different next year with Alexis Markowski being the almost assuredly, no doubt about it, best player.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Alexis evolves into that role as well. I would agree with you. I think her perimeter shot has gotten much better over her time in Lincoln. She doesn't use it as often. Maybe timeout. Let me rephrase that. When needed, she can kind of float out to the perimeter and hit a shot. I think also one area where she can really dominate, and she has before, is just down low. Like figure out a way to stay out of foul trouble, right? And figure out, because like she had some real good battles with like a Monica Cisnano from Iowa a couple of years ago. And we saw it with Bourne I believe Hannah Bourne.
Stolke from Iowa?
Yeah, Hannah Stolke, excuse me. I was thinking Izzy Bourne. Yeah. Hannah Stolke from Iowa. Like, we've seen Alexis have some really good battles.
Mackenzie Holmes.
Yes, yeah, from Indiana. Like, so figure out a way to consistently now be that bully, be that player for Nebraska in the Big Ten. Nebraska's perimeter shooting is going to be just fine for years to come because that's kind of how Amy Williams operates as well. But figure out a way to be that consistent every single game, average double-double kind of presence down low, because I think Alexis is also capable of it.
Oh, absolutely she is. And that's where when you see her struggle, it's, we know.
Yeah.
We know how good she can be. We know what she's shown. But Nick, that's why we go back to this conversation. Guards win.
Oh,
that's where
absolutely.
Britt Prince needing to be ready to go from the jump is going to be huge. Nisley taking on more responsibility is going to be absolutely huge. What's in store for Kendall Moriarty? You know, that's a good role piece. And what does Allison Widener look like coming back from yet another knee surgery, right? Allison Widener feels like the key to that team in a lot of ways. If she can handle the ball without turning it over, provide that spark on defense, and hit shots from range, that's really what Nebraska needs. They don't need her to be a one-for-one Jazz Shelley, but the fact that she could take on the toughest defensive responsibility, free Jazz up to be a bit more of a ball hawk, free safety as a guard.
Yep.
Jazz isn't a bad defender by any means, but Allison Widener just brings that, dare I say, Sam Hoiberg-esque kind of feel.
It's the gritty feel, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy for Husker fans to cheer for because she's from a small town in Nebraska, and she's one that Husker fans might remember seeing in the state tournament games. And that's what's going to be fun this year. I know I'm going back to state basketball. That's what's going to be fun about this week is seeing Britt Prince at PBA, because for the last 3 years when we've seen Britt Prince, and I've been fortunate enough to be courtside for all 3 of them, and now for this week as well, being able to see Britt Prince do her thing and evolve, right, throughout the last couple of years at PBA in an Elkhorn North uniform has been special. She is incredible. And I will never forget last year, even she was injured. She was banged up. Like she was not healthy. And she still led her team to a state championship game. Now there's a lot of
triple doubles.
There's a lot of really good players on that Elkhorn North team. Obviously, Ann Prince, her mom, does an incredible job coaching. You had McKenna Murphy last year. You had Reese Booth, who's the daughter, the Creighton volleyball head coach, Coach Booth there. So you have a lot of really good athletes on the Elkhorn North team, but none of them are comparable to a top 30 player in the country in the high school ranks. So it's going to be pretty cool this week seeing Britt Prince try to capture her 4th straight state title on a court where she's signed to play in college. I think that's just it's going to be a cool little atmosphere, I think, for just Husker fans and general college basketball fans to know, okay, this is where she's going to be for the next 4 years. That's the plan. And she's going to be a very, very big part in whether Nebraska has success or they have failure the next 4 years.
Dan from Canopy, thanks, Dan. Appreciate everything you do for the student athletes here at the Ticket. Just sends in one word: Potts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be great. And this is where I'm fascinated to see how Nebraska uses Potts with Markowski next year, with Amaya Hargrove coming in, who has some pretty good size. And Britt Prince isn't small, right? She's a guard, but she's a pretty good size guard. Potts is definitely more comfortable operating down low, but so is Markowski. You don't want to push Markowski out, right, and make her rely on the perimeter jump shot. I'll put my Duke basketball fandom hat on here.
There it is.
Kyle Filipowski can shoot the 3.
Oh, Filipowski.
He's better.
Court stormer.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. He can shoot the 3, extremely streaky. I don't think it's the thing Alexis Markowski is most comfortable with, but she can pop and do it. So Nebraska, I think the challenge is going to be finding ways to make sure both Potts and Markowski are at their best. It's worked pretty well this year, but again, having a guard like Jazz Shelley to get them the ball on time, on target, where they need it and want it is going to be huge. So I think Nebraska basketball should have the star power, for a couple of years to come. Now figure out the role pieces around it. I would say this too. Eric on the text line says, "You know what else is special, Nick?"
I know. He's
Eric.
then he apologizes.
So
I know he apologizes. Nonetheless, so I will say this about Alexis Markowski: the volume of 3-point shots that she's taking this year has gone down. She's taken 20 fewer threes. She's still shooting about 30% from beyond the 3-point line, which is fine. She's 18 of 59 this year from beyond the 3-point line. And you look back at, this was back in 2021, her freshman year. where don't forget she won Freshman of the Year like we just talked about in the Big Ten. She's gotten better having this down low presence. Has more rebounds than her freshman year. Shoots a little bit. I mean, just about the same from the field this year than she did last year. Has a lot more shots put up this year than she did freshman or last year as well. But she only took 42 threes in her freshman year. Shot 50% from beyond the arc, 21 of 42. This year, 18 of 59. It's not that to say that her game's regressed. That's not what we're getting at. It's that maybe Alexis Markowski and Nebraska just in general are better when Alexis has that presence down low. Natalie Potts is going to be a big part of the future. And that's why a big reason why the future is so bright is because you have Natalie Potts, who's probably going to win Freshman of the Year in the Big Ten Conference. You also have Logan Nisley, who's continuously improved throughout the entire season.
Shooting 40% from three right now.
Yeah.
The second most attempts on the team.
Yeah, Logan Nisley is somebody she dropped 15 against Iowa. She dropped 18 a couple of games later against Purdue. She dropped 13 earlier in the season against Indiana. So obviously 2 of those 3 teams are the 2 best teams in the Big Ten Conference. She showed up, right? She's gotten a lot of playing time as a freshman, as a true freshman, which gives you excitement for what's to come, right? Because as you talked about that growing, that learning curve from high school to the college game, while Britt maybe is experiencing that next year, you have 2 consistent and key players that already went through it in Logan Nisley, Natalie Potts. You have the return of Allison Widener as long as she stays healthy. And then you have Alexis Markowski. Then you have Britt Prince. And then you have Amaya Hargrove. There's a lot of things, and that's not even to mention players like Kendall Moriarty and Callan Hake as well. So, and I also wonder if they'll hit the transfer portal at all.
Well, you have to in this day and age of college
I think you have to. I look at like Nebraska went out and got Darian White this year. And she's played a nice, little reserve role off the bench for the Huskers at the guard position. So I feel like they might go out and get, whether it's a forward or I can't, because I'm blanking on what I believe Amaya Hargrove's a little bit taller.
It's like 6'2", I think.
And not to mention Kendall Coley's also in the fold.
Right.
So a lot of excitement.
Absolutely. Great foundation being laid for Husker women's basketball with just still, a game to go here in the regular season and the Big Ten tournament. All right. We brought up Kyle Filipowski, his knee. As the resident Duke fan, I have my platform. I'm going to sound off. We'll do that to finish out hour 1 of On the Block next.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Means an extra day of energy. And who doesn't love energy? To celebrate, now through February 29th, you can join for 29 cents down, $10 a month, and pay nothing until March 17th. Even better, you'll get free fitness training and equipment for every workout, with most clubs open 24 hours. So take advantage of your extra day and get energized at Planet Fitness. Join for 29 cents down, $10 a month, cancel anytime, and pay nothing until March 17th. Deal ends February 29th. See Home Club for details.
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career, or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Step into healing at Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery. Our team of top-notch medical professionals turns pain into progress with state-of-the-art treatments and compassionate care. Visit prairieortho.com and discover the difference in quality orthopedic and plastic surgery services tailored to your unique needs. Your health matters, and Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery is dedicated to helping you thrive. Reach your full potential. Embrace a better tomorrow with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Empower a life today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Change is only a conversation away when you choose to share your wisdom, time, and heart with a young mind. Together, we can craft a brighter future, one child at a time. Ignite a spark of hope and be someone's guiding light. Find out more about becoming a mentor by visiting teammates.org. Become a beacon of change by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Just a few minutes left here in hour one of On the Block. Don't worry, we're getting to the Husker men's win over Minnesota, but looking forward, Nick and I agreed on the happy hour that Nebraska basketball is, barring something ridiculous in the tournament, you should feel pretty good going to bed at night, Husker fans, about their chances to make the NCAA tournament. I'm going to be bold, brash, brazen, look ahead a little bit. We'll do that next hour. I want to get to Winston-Salem, out to Duke Wake Forest, the news of the weekend, the court storming, right? Kyle Filipowski gets injured, and not Caitlin Clark injured either, right? Caitlin Clark had the wind knocked out of her.
Yeah.
Probably could have walked off under her own power, decided not to, didn't miss any practice any time at all because of that. Kyle Filipowski, whatever his injury is, John Shire said after the game initially thought it was an ankle injury. Turns out it was a knee injury of some sort. Not available to practice, so he's probably not going to play Wednesday at Louisville. Might be back for Saturday at Virginia. He didn't have to get any imaging done or anything like that. My take on that court storm is it didn't need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Duke is good. They're fine. They don't feel like a top 10 team. Like they were number 9 last week, dropped one spot to 10 after that loss. I get it. It's Duke. I know the reputation, but this isn't a vintage Duke team.
Yeah.
Wake Forest was favored according to Las Vegas. Now that the players should be paying any attention to that, or the coaches. I love Steve Forbes, the job he's done at Wake Forest. He's really transformed that program. They've had some of their better years in the last couple decades, since Chris Paul left, have been these last few years. So I really respect the job that Steve Forbes has done, but the court was stormed before the final buzzer sounded. That's a problem. I don't want to Zapruder everything and say, oh, did Filipowski trip the guy? Did he try to push him? Did he get run into? Here's the thing. An accident. It was an accident, most likely. You know, I don't put it on Flip. I don't put it on the court stormers. But I'm just tired of having to have this conversation, right? Like crap happens. You wish it didn't. Court storming has never been a problem really until this year. So now that it's Caitlin Clark and Kyle Filipowski, you know, in the middle of it, I feel like that's why we're talking about it. I don't want to get rid of court storming, but I also think that branching it out to just any top 10 win, top 15 win, just kind of feels like, what are we doing? You're just doing it just to do it. Like if you knock off number 1 in your home gym, okay, that's something. Number 2, close enough. 3, 4, 5, fine, have your day.
What about number 6
through 10? I mean,
you're out.
It's a stretch. Like
they should have stormed against Wisconsin.
No.
Wow.
No, you beat Purdue.
You did.
That's a much bigger win than Wisconsin. The way Wisconsin happened was really cool, but probably not deserving of a court storm. Nebraska fans got caught up in the moment, stayed it for 1 or 2.
Is it act like you've been there before?
To some degree. Also, just like logistical to some degree. Like if every win's a big win, no win's a big win.
Well, I don't know. I think when you're a program like Nebraska, maybe it is a little more applicable that every win is a big win.
But okay, well then why didn't they storm the court on No Set Sunday?
Well, was that when all the fines were happening?
I thought the fines came later.
Maybe the fines came later. I don't know what,
because that win over Wisconsin to me was a bigger, more important win than this year's over Wisconsin.
Okay, you make a good point. Why didn't they storm the court? Did they?
Did they?
I think they did storm the court on
Okay,
No Set
prove me
Sunday.
wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong on this. But
hold on, court storm.
But that was number 9 Wisconsin.
Yep.
Number 9, which again, top 10 win, that's a big deal. But to me, court storming should be reserved for top 5 at the most, probably just 1 or 2.
Yeah, they stormed the court.
They did? Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Okay, that court storm means more.
Yeah, they were back.
That was a bigger win than
because that basically punched your ticket.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Beating Purdue is number 1. Makes sense. But this isn't a vintage Duke team. Everyone knows it. And you're on the court before the buzzer sounds.
So that's the issue I have the part with. I am all for celebrate your victories, fans. Like I'm all for that. Now, there are ways, and Nebraska's proven it. There are ways to escort teams off the court in a timely manner and keeping the students away. Not to give credit to Creighton. Creighton just did it with UConn, and they did a great job. Where security basically went about 5 steps from the side of the court where they shake hands. The UConn players shook hands with the coaches. You did the whole thing, the whole shindig. Then the security immediately escorted the UConn players and personnel out of the gym, and then security just let them loose. It's not that you can storm the court in a safe and proper manner. You just need people educated on how to do it. It seems like this year more than ever, people are getting ran into. I'm going to tell you, Austin, it looked like Filipowski may have extended the arms.
Maybe.
I'm just saying. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for celebrating victories, and that's coming from somebody that's watched Nebraska win what's felt like 5 games the last 12 years.
Right.
So that's why if you beat, I'm not saying to do it if you beat 23rd ranked Ohio State, make it mean something still. But hey, a top 10 win's a top 10 win. And if you're Wake Forest here, Wake Forest is in a similar position like Nebraska. What was Duke? 8? 9. If Nebraska played 9th ranked Wisconsin or 9th ranked Purdue, and it basically took them from being a bubble team to a team that's closer to being in, I'm storming the court. Wake Forest hasn't been great. They've gotten a couple of nice transfers, including Hunter Salas. Steve Forbes just does his job, and somehow Steve Forbes is one of the best recruiters in all of college basketball, it feels like. He's a player's coach.
Yeah.
Steve Forbes is.
Yeah, I'm Steve Forbes guy.
Players love playing for Steve Forbes. Wake Forest has won. They got a couple AP poll votes. They did. I'm celebrating. I'm storming the court. I just think there was more of an efficient way. Now, I will say if Duke players or whoever else is playing, the opposing team, if they're trying to like get off the court on their own power and not following rules and trying to go through the crowd, then that's a problem. That's not security's fault. No. If that's them just kind of going off on their own. Enough court storms have happened now where this is something that I think coaches, if you're Nebraska, if you're Wisconsin, if you're Purdue, if you're Duke, North Carolina, whatever, you got to know how to do it. All right. Hey, if we're the top 5 team, we lose, get to the scores table, get over there immediately. Or if Kansas, you're on the opposite side, whatever the case may be, get to the scores table, get to us, because we need to get off. And I think that just comes with education, and hopefully it improves. You can't ban court storms. You'll never do it. You'll never do it
unless you put the players in a plexiglass box.
Yeah, you're never going to do it, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't do it.
You absolutely shouldn't. Also,
Duke homer.
Big thumbs down to the Wake Forest guy that intentionally got in Jared McCain's way and started talking trash for a few seconds. So, anyways, good discussion on that. NCAA tournament picture for Nebraska. I went through most of the top 15 teams in the country, said why they'd be a good matchup for Nebraska, why they'd be a bad matchup for Nebraska in the round of 32. I have some teams I want Nebraska to face and some teams I don't want Nebraska to be matched up in with the bracket. Obvious caveat being they need to win the first game first. But let's get bold. Let's get brash, Husker fans.
Fun.
Let's have some fun. Let's party. Let's get out ahead of our skis to start hour 2 of On the Block.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox, KFXL Weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, expecting sunny skies. It'll be breezy and incredibly warm as well. We'll see a high around 80. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 42. And tomorrow, increasing clouds throughout the day, falling temperatures too. See a high around 50. I'm meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career, or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay. Playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
Empower a life today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Change is only a conversation away when you choose to share your wisdom, time, and heart with a young mind. Together, we can craft a brighter future, one child at a time. Ignite a spark of hope and be someone's guiding light. Find out more about becoming a mentor by visiting teammates.org. Become a beacon of change by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
That's former Michigan head coach John Beilein on the Big Ten Network reacting to last night's Nebraska-Minnesota game. Welcome into Hour 2 of On the Block. I'm Austin Norman, joined by Nick Sainert. Really interesting comments, Nick. That 2018 Michigan team ended up winning over 30 games throughout the year. They end up, again, national runner-up in 2018, lose to, I believe it was Virginia that year. An incredible run for that Michigan team. I don't know. Villanova, right. Yes, because it's Virginia the next year. Man, that's high praise from a guy who's seen high-level basketball. I don't want to let myself believe that's possible. Sometimes guys on these studio shows get carried away. They get in the moment. They overreact to what they just saw.
Yeah.
John Beilein's pretty good, though, and I'm starting to buy in.
Yeah, hey, here's the thing. So in that season, that Big Ten, just for a fun fact, that Michigan team was actually the one that knocked Nebraska out of their conference tournament. Right. Michigan beat Nebraska by 19, 77-58.
Was that the team that had the plane slide off the runway?
Oh, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that was.
Yes. I completely forgot that that's even happened. You're right. Okay, so anyway, in this game, or in this season, how about this, though? In the regular season, don't forget, that 2017-2018 team that went to the national championship game lost to Nebraska by 20 earlier in the season.
Wagner.
They lost 72-52 to Nebraska back in that 2018 season. On Thursday, January 18th, 2018, they lost at Pinnacle Bank Arena 72-52 to the Huskers. Man, that was an 8 p.m. tip-off too.
It was night game. I was there. It was fun.
ESPN 2?
Probably.
Usually
Sounds
it felt like the Nebraska Michigan's games were always on ESPN 2.
The douche.
That was the 2018 Nebraska team that finished 22-11.
Yeah. Fourth in the Big Ten.
Missed the tournament, went to the NIT.
Big Ten, yep.
Missed the
tournament.
Missed the tournament, went to the NIT.
Beat Butler, lost to TCU.
Yeah, because I was in attendance for that Butler game.
Same.
Wow, what do you know?
Look at us.
Butler, Isaiah Roby had a pretty sweet dunk.
Barry Collier was back.
Yeah, then you ended up losing to TCU on the road.
Yeah.
So
what can you do?
Disappointing day. But no, John Beilein, former Cavs coach, likes Nebraska now. Is Nebraska a national title contender? Probably not. I saw today that they have less than a 1% chance to make the Final Four. Listen, it is what it is. But people forgetting we're talking about making the NCAA tournament. Oh, if Nebraska wins, can you imagine this place?
Nick, that's where we're going. If Nebraska wins its first round game, whether it's the 8-9, the 7-10,
I don't care.
the 6-11, shouldn't matter, can't matter.
3-14. Nebraska, the 3 seed, obviously.
Yes. Sign me up.
Nebraska wins out and wins the Big Ten tournament. What seed are they?
6.
6, not a 5.
No. 6.
They can't get to a 5?
No. 6.
All right.
I'm very confident.
They could get to a 5.
So
time out.
It depends on what else happens around them.
So the 5 would take them just a little bit below where Illinois currently is, because currently Illinois would be the final 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nebraska could get there. They can get there.
I said this last week. I don't know if it's on air or off air, but it also depends on the path. If they have to beat Illinois, Wisconsin, and Purdue in some order, then sure, maybe they play their way into a 5. But if their path is cleared for them, 6.
Okay, so here I'm trying to find like a hypothetical bracket here if I can find it. Okay, so for example, if Nebraska is the 5, so they would play, let's see, the winner of the 12-13,
which right now is what, Rutgers, Ohio State, I think. Maryland, Ohio State.
I got to pull up the standings too here.
Pretty sure it's Rutgers, Ohio State.
It's changed a little bit. So 12-13 would be Rutgers and Ohio State. This just startles me. It just kind of like scares me a little bit, because we're so accustomed to be like, dang, I'd really much rather play Purdue. Like I'm accustomed to the Ohio States of like, what was the one? Deshaun Thomas? Or who was it? Who was the Thomas guy? Thomas, Jared Solinger,
D'Angelo
Russell, Aaron Kraft,
even EJ Liddell to some degree.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, Ohio State, I just don't like them. But we have to remember things are changing. Things have changed a little bit. So okay, Nebraska would then play Ohio State, Rutgers, whoever the winner of that one would be. Then you would have, let's see, that'd be game 4. So then it'd be 4 seed. Or excuse me, it'd be the 5
seed, because you're the 5. You'd play the 4.
5 seed versus the game 1 winner. 4 seed versus the game 4 winner, which would be Northwestern or Wisconsin. Okay, you've beaten them both. You've beaten them both, and then that turns into
Purdue.
Yeah,
Purdue or winner of 8 or 8-9. Probably Purdue,
which would be Penn State or Maryland. Could Penn State do something crazy? Maryland could do something crazy.
Maryland could do something crazy. Big Jameer Young guy.
And then Nebraska ends up playing Illinois or Northwestern for the title. Okay. All right. I'm not saying to count your chickens before they hatch. But hey. Anyway, Roger in Syracuse is mad at us. Just get into the tournament. I understand, Roger.
We're having some fun.
But
they're in the tournament.
But what if Nebraska wins the Big Ten title?
What if
they get? I mean, here's the thing: you feel pretty good about it if they just win a game in the Big Ten tournament, right? Like I think part of that is going to be okay if you're Nebraska, and let's say Nebraska was to get a double bye, act like you're a double bye team, win the game that you're supposed to win. That's going to be the step, right? Most realistically, I'm saying because Nebraska's been there, right? They've been that single bye type of team, but they haven't played like it. They didn't play like it when they were a 4 seed. They lost their first game. So it's like play like the team that got you to be that 4, 5, or maybe even 6 seed.
Absolutely. I've counted all sorts of chickens before they've hatched.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of this conversation.
And so far, they're all happy and healthy. Here we go.
So far. Okay, I give you the 4-1 seeds from the latest bracketology of UConn, Purdue, Houston, Arizona.
Yeah.
Say Nebraska wins an 8-9 game and they face one of those 4 teams. Who do you want most? Who do you want least?
Out of Purdue,
UConn, Houston, Arizona.
Probably Arizona.
Most or least?
The most.
Okay.
I'd want Arizona the most. Houston has been able to win on the road. They're good. I think Houston is one of the better teams. Purdue, you saw Purdue a long time ago. Purdue is, dang, Nebraska's matched up well against Zach Edey in the past years, but Purdue's accustomed to being there. Then the other one was UConn. UConn's dangerous. I stay away from UConn. I want UConn the least.
That's hilarious. I want UConn the most. Give me the Huskies.
Wow.
They're probably the best team in college basketball this year. They're probably the most balanced.
Makes it sweeter.
But here's the thing.
Makes it sweeter when Nebraska
UConn
wins them.
By getting hot from 3. That's what's happened to UConn. They've given up double-digit
That's
threes.
True. Look at Creighton
in all their losses.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Nebraska can get hot. Nebraska can heat up. It would probably be like an 85-80 game. But if Nebraska goes 14-26 from 3, they got a shot. I don't hate the UConn matchup.
Here's the deal, Austin. No matter who Nebraska plays, it is going to be I can't say that on there. It is going to be a free-for-all from beyond the arc for Keisei Tominaga.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine Nebraska playing number 1 UConn. Keisei's pulling up from the logo every single time down the floor.
Yeah.
He's going to have so much fun. Nebraska fans, buckle. Here we go, fellas. This is going to be fun. And we're going to be just a shameless plug for 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be places. We'll be hanging out for the NCAA tournament like we always are. And we better see you there because it's going to be fun this year. And because hopefully Nebraska plays during the day instead of at night. Somebody's going to be having to do radio during the game. And it's going to be very, very tough to stay focused.
It will be.
Without doing play-by-play.
Right.
Yeah. Dang.
So UConn does get after the offensive glass quite a bit, but they also play slow. So I think Nebraska, again, if they hit threes, can do that.
Fits their tempo.
It does. The next 1 seed that I would want would be Arizona. I had them in my initial run through the team I would want the least.
Yeah.
But then I thought about their March history. They don't shoot it that well. They play fast. I was just scared of Caleb Love again. Right.
Yeah,
and Omar Baller is absolutely
a
beast. I want Purdue the second least. I think Purdue's licking its chops if it sees Nebraska, especially.
That's exactly how I feel.
Purdue is just due. They've been balanced all year. Now their guards turn it over. Nebraska's matched up against them pretty well. I wouldn't want to see him in the big dance necessarily. Houston, absolutely the 1 seed that I want the least part of. Now, again, Houston gives up a lot of threes and a lot of free throws, 2 things that Nebraska is relatively good at. So there's a path for Nebraska against Houston. But again, I want that UConn smoke. The smoke I want the most, though, Nick, is a 2-7 or a 2-10 game between Nebraska and Kansas.
Yeah.
Nebraska beats Kansas. Put me on freezing cold takes if it gets there, but Nebraska beats Kansas.
Nebraska
I want
wants
every
Kansas.
part of that matchup.
So here's what's crazy. So out of the 2 seeds, according to Lenardi, back on February 23rd, which was a week ago, Marquette, North Carolina, Tennessee, or Kansas. Let me tell you the team I don't want.
Tennessee?
Marquette.
Okay.
I think Marquette is going to have a heck of a March.
Marquette?
Yeah. I really do. I think, here's the thing. So they just whooped DePaul's behind just last week. Tyler Kolek is one of the most underrated guards in the country. He had 18 assists against DePaul.
It's DePaul.
I understand.
It's DePaul.
But he had 18. 18.
It's DePaul.
18 assists against DePaul. I also really like the way, so they have a big man, Abednego.
Oso Ighodaro.
Thank you, Ighodaro. Gosh dang, I was thinking Indigo. Yes, Oso. Fun to watch.
Yes.
Plays really well around the glass.
Mm-hmm.
I like Marquette a lot. I've also kind of been a closet Marquette fan my entire life.
Yeah.
Ever since Vanderblue, I've been a Marquette fan.
There you go.
Okay. I was a fan of Marquette back when they had Buzz Williams as their head coach. Then Buzz decides to go wear his vest at Virginia Tech. He gets fired or moves on from Virginia Tech. But
Buzz Williams.
I hung around Marquette. So a little bit of a Marquette fan, but I will say I think they're actually set up way better this year than they actually were last year.
I'm a Marquette, closet fanboy as well. Because of Kolek, I like the Hausers. Marcus Howard was a ton of fun.
Marcus Howard was fun.
I love
You're absolutely right.
The color scheme.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I want Carolina second. Carolina doesn't force a lot of turnovers, and they've also just had some stinkers. They lost to Villanova. They lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. I don't hate the Bacon matchup.
We don't talk about North Carolina a whole lot.
No.
But it's also been that kind of year where Duke hasn't been in that conversation either.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the lack of legendary coaches at those two stops.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're starting to experience the post Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski kind of feel, but maybe it doesn't feel like they're as dangerous as they normally are. And I don't think they are.
No, I'm with you. Carolina's been in the top 5, top 10 all year, but their metrics are, borderline top 10. I want Tennessee the least, though. I think that's a team that's due for a long run. I think they play really good defense. They're basically better Rutgers, and they're more balanced this year than they have been. Dalton Knecht is absolutely insane. Couple interesting 3 seeds I want to touch on here really quick. I wouldn't hate Nebraska against Alabama. They play Alabama, so fast. They get shots up. I think Nebraska could keep pace or even slow Alabama down a little bit. They're not as athletic, I think, as they're used to. I don't hate Nebraska, Iowa State in the Go Big Fred Bowl. Iowa State forces turnovers, which scares me, but they don't shoot a lot of threes and they allow a lot. So again, Nebraska gets hot. That's a fun matchup.
I'm not sure who I would cheer for. There's not a coach I like more than TJ Otzelberger. The dude just
even
lifts.
More Marcus Freeman.
That'd be such a conflicting game. Thank goodness. Different sports, thankfully. No, TJ Otzelberger, just the turnaround he's done at Iowa State is what's so impressive to me. And the dude is completely jacked. I mean, gosh, the guy lives in the weight room and then he just goes out and coaches a top 5 team by night. So I like TJ Otzelberger a lot. By the way, I don't know if you remember this guy off of Marquette, Todd Mayo.
I do not remember Todd Mayo.
How about Devontae Gardner?
No.
Dwayne Wilson?
No.
Dang.
You're a better Marquette fanboy than I am, Nick.
Oh, I love Marquette so much. I cannot wait. I used to have the full powder blue uniform.
Nice.
That I would wear.
Nice.
That was back when I was like 10.
Fair.
But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
The 3 seeds I don't want to see. Auburn. Johnny Broome is legit. They defend 3. I like Aiden Holloway as well. I don't want to see Baylor. I think they're just 5% better across the board Nebraska in a lot of ways. I think Baylor would be a really tough match. I mean, 6 guys averaging double figures scoring per game right now. And for the love of all things holy, not Creighton. My heart can't take it.
Nope.
Beating Creighton, we talked about this last week.
Yep.
Beating Creighton would be the ultimate trump card. It's the ultimate high risk, high reward play. But if you lose to Creighton in the NCAA tournament, they are telling you about it at football games. They're telling you about it at volleyball games.
Yep.
You see them on the street. You're walking around downtown Omaha. You hear about it. It is not worth the stress, even if Nebraska win. It is not worth it. Do not give me Creighton. I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want it either. I'm good. Last thing before we get to break, Austin, because I know we're up against the clock. Brian Munson. What player on Nebraska's 2019 roster started their career at Marquette?
2019 roster would be Hanif Cheatham.
There you go. Hanif Cheatham in his freshman year at Marquette.
All freshman team, right?
Yes. 12 points per game.
There you go.
Hanif.
The lefty.
Dang. That's awesome.
Long live Hanif Cheatham. He deserves better.
Shout out to Marquette.
Big shout out to Brian Munson. He's our recruiting guy. We'll talk some in-state tour. Husker Online just got done with that. And a lot of official visitors on the docket for Nebraska. We'll get Brian's thoughts on plenty of those guys here when we get back.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Get a 1-meat sandwich loaded with our award-winning barbecue, plus your choice of a classic side and drink for just $5.99. Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner in Lincoln at 3210 Cornhusker Highway. Order online at GoHogWild.com.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Empower a life today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Change is only a conversation away when you choose to share your wisdom, time, and heart with a young mind. Together, we can craft a brighter future, one child at a time. Ignite a spark of hope and be someone's guiding light. Find out more about becoming a mentor by visiting teammates.org. Become a beacon of change by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
Imagine a healthier, more active, physically fit version of yourself. If you've been putting off getting into shape, now is the time with the Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping 10-week challenge. Our program combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching to help you achieve your fitness goals. And ticket listeners, you can get $150 off the enrollment fee. The next challenge begins on March 23rd. You can get all the info at fxblincoln.com. Don't wait any longer. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back on the block, rolling right along in hour 2. We go to our VIP line, brought to you by Aloe Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. Welcome in our recruiting guy. We claim him. Don't know if we should or not, but we're going to. Brian Munson of Husker Online. Check him out, part of the On3 network. Brian, it's been far too long. It's my fault. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Austin. What's up, man? I'm good.
Not too much going on here. Plenty in your world, though. Lots of recruiting news. And, of course, the headline for you guys over there at Husker Online, the Nebraska In-State Tour. Let's break it up this way, Brian. Let's start with prospects outside of Lincoln and Omaha. Throughout the In-State Tour, was there anyone that stood out to you outside of the Lincoln and Omaha places?
Ryman Ziebert is obviously probably the top of that list. The big tight end has probably been the most consistent riser outside the two, major cities. He's picked up some really nice offers, Wisconsin, Miami. I just feel like there were so many schools that were just, they needed to verify whether or not they felt like he could put on the weight, he could carry the weight. I think it really kind of started to happen with Miami. And then he took the visit to Wisconsin and he picked up an offer there. Outside of that, Connor Booth, obviously being the Nebraska commitment at Wahoo Bishop Neumann is one to talk about. He showed up yesterday, 6'1". He was about 205 pounds. And I talked to his dad this morning. He was a little bit surprised that he was that light, but they're getting back into the swing of things. I think the big news with Connor, that people need to kind of look forward to a little bit here is that, he spends his time really dedicated to kind of supporting two sports. So during the summer, like he starts spring baseball today, and then, he would be rolling right into playing for the prospects this summer and doing travel ball and going all over the place. And he's really backing down on a lot of that. He's gonna back off on, making those long trips and, going states away to play in tournaments. He's going to play a lot more of the local stuff, but he is going to spend a lot more time really working on, getting ready to play college football. So I think that that's a good one. Here's another one for you, though, too. I caught up with him on Friday because Kearney High School wasn't going to be able to make it down on Sunday. Sawyer Schilke out of Kearney High School. I think people need to kind of know that name a little bit. Already has an offer from Northern Illinois, 6'3", 225 pounds. Nebraska is really keeping close tabs on him. I think that Nebraska wants to see him run a 40, see where that would be at. I think that they do see him, like right now, I think they see him more as like a middle linebacker, but he plays kind of a multi-purpose tool kind of guy. He kind of defensive end, outside linebacker, walk up, 2-point guy, and then rolls back to Mike a little bit for the Bearcats. But I think Schilke is a guy that's going to have a lot more teams, looking at him, particularly after the evaluation period, after he gets back into some football shape. He finished third at state Class A in the 215-pound class at the wrestling meet. So yeah, I'd say Schilke, Booth, Ziebert. Those are three guys that I think right now kind of come off the top of my head as guys to kind of keep an eye on.
Before we get to Lincoln, Omaha, I want to follow up on what you just said, right? He's just a football player, right? They use him in different ways. Brian, I think when we look at this Nebraska staff and the way they recruit, it seems like there are two guys they go for, either the all-around football players that they can mold and find the best position, or the raw athletes that they think they can teach the game. Do you notice Nebraska going after one of those types of guys at certain positions, or is it just, hey, good football player, good athlete, plug him in?
Yeah, I think that and that's a great point. It's such a great observation, Austin, because I do feel like they do that a lot. I think that there are players in this class that potentially have that ability. I think even a guy is, that hasn't played the defense position, like a Jackson Carpenter. Like if you really looked long and hard and you saw the measurables, you'd say, man, that could be an in-the-box safety. He could be a guy that's playing some sort of defensive back position for Nebraska, potentially, if that's what he wanted to do, or that's where, if they could talk him into go ahead and moving over there. But realistically, I mean, he's not had any time on the defensive side of the football, but he has great measurements. He's gonna be a really fun player, I think, for people to watch this year after all the improvements he made in track last season. I mean, if he could crack 10.5, and he was just jumping 39 inches in the vertical, he's one of the better, just, top to bottom athletes. And you put him at that 6'3", 190-pound range right there, and just basically skinny, and just, looks like he could put on 10 pounds overnight and not know where it goes. I mean, there's a few of those guys in the state that I think could do that. Caprice Keith, another player that I think, you just can't limit him. I mean, he's a guy that can play offense or defense. He's a wide receiver. He's a defensive back. Those are some really interesting guys to kind of see and watch this fall.
Speaking of wide receiver, defensive back, again, I promise we'll get back to the in-state tour. Jeremiah Charles, right, wins the dunk contest at halftime of Nebraska men's basketball game yesterday. We knew he was a great athlete coming out, but Brian, in recruiting, how much of a tool is that for Matt Rule to say, hey, look, you can come here, you can have fun, right? We're not going to restrict you from doing these other things, like obviously within reason. Just how cool, and is that a recruiting tool Nebraska football can use?
I mean, absolutely. I think they can go back and, they're looking for athletes. They're looking for raw guys. They can say, look, we aren't just here to work. We're here to have fun. We're a family. I went and saw Jeremiah Charles play basketball when he was at Arlington Martin. Fantastic athlete. I saw some outrageous dunks. I think he had 4 or 5 dunks in the game that I went to and watched. And he has got some major hops. His brother was he has a twin brother that was actually going to either New Mexico or New Mexico State to play football. Jeremiah was kind of the more raw athlete of the two. Didn't play a lot of football. Was more of a basketball track guy, and just was kind of coming into his own. Honestly, is how I would kind of go ahead and phrase it. But I think that there's a lot to be said about Matt Rule's, allowing these players to do other things. I think not just with the fun things of a dunk contest, but, allowing Charles and other players to run track. Connor Booth is going to play, football and baseball. You have Nash Hutmacher that's wrestling and playing football. You're going to have some people that are going to ask, Tyson Terry if he's going to be interested in staying on the mat for a little while too. Which of course he told us in Omaha that he was, and he's really got NFL dreams. But I think that's a huge thing, and I think Matt Rule kind of understands. Like, look, it's okay for those guys to kind of split, and be productive doing these other things. It's good for me because they're these multi-sport athletes. But I think he also wants to kind of, be honest with each other and say, like, look. Yeah, if you were playing baseball and you were leading off, or you were kind of that top guy off the bench, in a rotation in the outfield or whatever, but you haven't seen any or you haven't seen any time so far this spring, why don't you go and come on back and let Coach Campbell keep working with you? Because I think there'll be a role for you in the fall. I think it's going to come down to that kind of assessment was going to need to have to be reviewed, I think, for all those guys that are splitting time and missing time, working out winter conditioning into spring football, and even into summer sports a little bit, like when they're out there doing other things.
We're talking Husker football recruiting with Brian Munson of Husker Online here in our Allo VIP line. You mentioned Jackson Carpenter in Lincoln. Anything else to add on him or anyone else that stood out to you from the Lincoln leg of the in-state tour?
Oh, Cole Erickson's an interesting dude at Southwest. I think what's going to be interesting to see about Cole is he's going to test incredibly well. He is a very conditioned. He has tested well so far, going back to last season. It's interesting to watch his body. His dad played offensive tackle for Texas Tech. His mom played volleyball for Texas Tech. He's got some of those genes there that potentially, maybe he's not done growing quite yet. So he's an interesting guy to go ahead and keep a look to keep an eye on. We saw Ren Brown. That's maybe another guy outside of Lincoln too that I failed to mention from Stanton. I think he came in at 6'5", maybe 6'5.5", and he's really been a guy that's kind of taken off here recently. He's got a couple D2 offers, but he's got Wyoming and couple in Nebraska kind of keeping tabs on him. I think it's just he's a eight man football guy. It's going to be really kind of harder, I think, to see him kind of playing offensive tackle stuff, but maybe he could play on the offensive line, the interior side of things. So that's a guy to kind of keep an eye on there. Connor Booth, mentioned him before. I tell you what, here's an interesting one that I liked because I bumped into his dad, and he's from Columbus. Ty Tessendorf from Blair. Ty Tessendorf is a freshman, played the last 4 or 5 games for Blair at right tackle. I think he's about 6'3.5", 255 pounds as a freshman. And I seen that kid at Nebraska football camp a couple of years ago when I ran into his dad earlier on too, when my son was up there. He has really put on some nice size in the last couple of years. Look for a bigger role out of him this year at Blair. Blair's going to have a decent little football team again, even having replaced their starting quarterback.
Bopping around the Omaha Metro, not into Omaha, but your Elkhorns, Millards, Gretna's, Bellevue's, any of those schools have anyone that stood out to you on the in-state tour?
Last year, Omaha West Side rolled through the door, and you had Benning, and you had the Rezaks, and you had Christian Jones, and you just had these guys that you go, wow. They are there are 6 or 7 D1 guys here, and you just felt like they were kind of putting the state, kind of on like, here's what we're coming for. We're coming for that state title. And they went after it and they got it. And I felt like this year the team that kind of looked that way a little bit was Millard South. Millard South. Jet Tamala is probably the most surprising guy that I saw in Omaha, because he startled me with his frame. He's a 6'4.5" guy. I didn't think I was going to give him that type of credit. From like watching this, I was like, oh, this is it's obviously a little exaggerated. He's legit 6'4.5", and he has got some real weapons. With Chase Lofton transferring over there, Isaac Jensen, who's the other tight end opposite him that now has an offer from Nebraska. Marion Jackson, who was a 1,000-yard receiver last season. I think some people would pick on the fact that maybe they don't have like that starting running back to kind of go along with it, but they have got some weapons. And Tamala is really a fun quarterback, to watch. And it's hard to kind of skip over Omaha North, because Tyson Terry, he was fresh off of his 3rd state title. He's still undefeated. He shows up, he's 6'3.5". He's 268 pounds, I think is what he was at. Just in fantastic shape. It absolutely looks ready to go. I mean, just looks physically ready to play at the next level. And this is a guy that has another year. Pierce Blueberry, really interesting guy. Like in another year of like tight ends being a standout position around the state. I don't know when and where that this all happened, but it's happened that Nebraska is being known for all the tight ends they produce on an annual basis. But Blueberry is a legitimate guy that could play either side of the football. And I think he's hearing about it from some schools. So keep an eye on him. I really think that he's a guy that can test well, and we'll see what ends up happening there. But Iowa State's definitely a team to kind of keep an eye on with him.
We're talking with Brian Munson of Husker Online about the in-state tour that they just went through. Follow Brian on Twitter. Check out Husker Online for any of that news if you missed anything or are curious about anything else we didn't get into. A couple more for you here, Brian, as it relates to official visits that have been set. I'm sure we've had this conversation. I forget what your answer was. Nebraska, is that a school that does better being the first impression, being the first official visit for a guy? Is it better in the middle? Is it best to be the last official visit from Nebraska's standpoint?
Wow, what a great question. History would tell you that it's a little bit in the middle on being the first. I think that there are some guys that Nebraska or that basically are feeling like Nebraska could be home. And then I feel like there's also some times where Nebraska brings in a very heralded player, a highly heralded player that's never seen Nebraska before, coming in there, eyes open, and has 4 other official visits set up, through the month of June. And it just seems like it trails off. Nebraska had that happen a little bit last year. It's happened before under Mickey Joseph and Scott Frost. It's just a matter, I think, of like how they're going to go about kind of setting this thing up. I think I think they're doing a great job of lining up some guys that come in April, particularly ones that have never seen a game, and Nebraska obviously they're not going to have a bunch of official visits in the month of September and October. So this is about as close to an environment as what you're ever going to see. So they're bringing in like their top quarterback, and TJ Lateef. They're bringing in some other guys that haven't seen a home game at Memorial Stadium before. So you've got an ability to kind of share that with them a little bit when it comes to like being a spring game. Then I think I think they're doing a great job scheduling official visits with some guys from a couple of like out of region is what I would kind of keep tending to call them, because they haven't really nailed down any players from in-state. They haven't really got anybody from like the neighboring states or inside the radius guys. They're really from players that are from a lot further away. So I think that it's a way of kind of narrowing things down, I think, a little bit for Nebraska to figure out like where they're at with some guys. But it's kind of 50-50, though, going back to your original question. Sometimes it works out really well, and I think it really comes down to where Nebraska kind of sits at on their list. And if it seems like they have a player, though, that's destined to take, the next 4 visits, and they have the next 4 kind of scheduled when they show up, that's the one right there that usually doesn't prove in very well for Nebraska. They usually set a high bar, but then it seems like something happens like right after the visit, and the player's off to other schools, and just seems like communication kind of dies down naturally.
So Nebraska's the last visit for interior offensive lineman Marcus Garcia. He'll be here on April 26th after a pretty nice SEC tour, also Michigan and Florida State. You also look at Houston Kaihana Torres from out west. What do we need to know about those two guys, Brian?
Houston is a guy that's visited Nebraska before. He's been there in April, last April. I think Nebraska is very much in the picture with him. I think that Coach Raiola has done a fantastic job in recruiting him. I know that his plan was at one time to get over to the Poly Bowl so he could go ahead and check out, Dylan Raiola and see how that game was going to go. But I think that, this is, and obviously he's one of 2 guys from Hawaii that Nebraska has scheduled to come in for an official visit this summer. I think Nebraska is very serious about keeping things open, with players from Hawaii. I think that they've got obviously a very good thing going with having Donovan Raiola on the staff, Dylan Raiola on the roster, guys, local legends like Dominic that can kind of go over there. I think that it's such a terrific story. I think Nebraska should try to ride that wave as long as they can. But yeah, I think things look good. I think things look good with Torres. I know you asked about Marcus Garcia too from Denton Ryan. Mm-hmm. Denton Ryan just being up the road, obviously former high school of defensive end Josh Williams, who was at Nebraska in the early 2000s. Great district. I don't know a lot about him as a player, a 4-star guy, but TCU is a school that's been pushing very hard to kind of keep him local. I know that for Nebraska to kind of keep hitting on those schools that are north, like Argyle, where you got Van Poppel. There was a couple other players last year that Nebraska was in on too. There's even a couple from Denton, different high schools that Nebraska was still trying to get to visit. So good football, obviously up there with Geyer and Ryan and both high schools up there. And I think that's a big situation. It's a good situation for Nebraska. They got a 4-star interior offensive lineman from the Dallas Metroplex that wants to visit this summer on an official visit.
Last one for you then, Brian. Low PTSD seeing this high school pop up. Lancaster, Emmanuel Choice, a 4-star wide receiver. A&M, Nebraska, USC, and TCU are his official visits. What do we need to know about Emmanuel Choice from Kawan Lacey's team?
Yeah, I met Emmanuel last year through the process. I just he's an amazing talent. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He is super long. He has tremendous hands. I got a picture of him last year that just blew the coach's socks off, because there was no way he was supposed to make this catch. The corner had made a great cut on the ball. It looked like he was headed the other way, and Emmanuel just pulled it in. He's a strong kid. He is an incredibly strong guy, but he is going to be very popular. I mean, you've got A&M. I know that one school that wasn't even on the top 4 that has been very serious about him has been Oklahoma. So keep an eye out on that one too. I mean, Emmanuel's a guy that you can't ignore him. He's such an amazing talent. But yeah, that should be an interesting one for Nebraska fans, because Emmanuel and Kewan were very close last year as part of that offense at Lancaster.
Make sure you follow Brian Munson on Twitter at Brian Munson. I believe it's an underscore after. Yeah, Brian Munson _ Check him out. Husker Online, part of the On3 network. Brian, we appreciate your time as always. Take care, my friend.
All right. See you, man.
There he is, Brian Munson, on our VIP line, brought to you by Aloe Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. Take a break. Wrap up on the block here in just a sec.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with 4 Lincoln locations, but now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios at 1040 O Street.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
Imagine a healthier, more active, physically fit version of yourself. If you've been putting off getting into shape, now is the time with the Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping 10-Week Challenge. Our program combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching to help you achieve your fitness goals. And ticket listeners, you can get $150 off the enrollment fee. The next challenge begins on March 23rd. You can get all the info at fxblincoln.com. Don't wait any longer. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good? I can't even tell it's healthy. How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket Studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wrapping up On the Block here on a beautiful, beautiful Monday here in the capital city. It touched 80.
Did it really?
Meteorologist on Twitter got up to 80. The high for either February or today in Nebraska history is 83. We hit 80. So good job, Nebraska. Job well done.
Yeah. Hey, I'll say this. I was listening to Brian talk about Jet Tamala. As somebody that's seen Jet play quite often, and that entire Millard South team, gosh, they are legit. They're going to be a team to watch this upcoming fall because they might dethrone Omaha West Side. I think they're going to be able to do it. Amarion Jackson was the best receiver in the state last year. He talked about how they might not have a starting running back. They had Nolan Gorman last year. He was really, really good.
Imagine this team with Isaiah Harris.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, they were really good. They graduated a guy coming off the edge on the defensive side of the ball as well, Aiden Miller, who was just, I mean, he was a freak. He was nasty, but in a good way. He was fun to watch. They return a couple of really interesting guys, but man, when you can return a quarterback and one that's Jets caliber, you're going to take that every single year.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station ID real quick here in 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Nick, you're the high school football guy. I definitely want your take on this, but I'm curious to see who, if anyone in Class A, can build not necessarily a dynasty, I don't think is the right word, but that kind of sustainable, self-sustaining program. Because you think about Zane Flores, at Gretna, going into Bellevue West and all their talent, into Westside, and now it's Millard South's turn. Not that any of those previous three teams are bad by any means right now, but and it's hard to repeat, right? No matter the sport, no matter the level you're playing at. So those teams are always going to be good, but I'm going to be curious to see how long it takes for some of these programs to be more self-sustaining where, okay, maybe they're not a clear-cut favorite, feel pretty good about them, but it's really a three-team race instead of, hey, here's the team to beat in Class A this year.
Well, I think, you make a good point. By the way, Tamala had 2,800 yards passing last year as a sophomore. And so that was what was incredible is he was just a sophomore last year. No, you're right, though. Because it's going to be more difficult, I think, going into the new future of college football because we always talk about college football. We always talk about college football in the sense of guys don't stay on rosters. Guys are always moving. They're changing programs. Coaches are leaving. We've seen that quite active at the high school level in the state of Nebraska the last couple of years as well. Transfers are a thing. I think if we want to be honest with ourselves, recruiting is a thing. Even at the high school level, coaches have left, coaches have moved on. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's an adjustment that needs to be taken into account and learned how to adapt to in this new age of competitive football, whether that's at the high school level or whether that's at the collegiate level. So I think that's something that coaches are going to have to learn to adapt to. Programs are going to learn how to adapt to it. But to your point, I think it makes it more difficult to adapt to it and to then also build this dynasty over the next couple of years. Lincoln will have to figure out a way. And I think it starts at the top with the coaches, obviously. Lincoln needs to find a way to become more competitive.
How far at the top does that start? Does it start with the high school level or does it even go to Nebraska football? Like the University of Nebraska saying, maybe, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's our program. Lincoln coaches, this can give you a leg up over Omaha if you choose to implement.
I think it could potentially start there. I also think it starts at the youth football level. I think one big thing when you look at Millard South, the core of guys there, they've all been playing since 6th, 7th grade. They've all been playing together, and then they all decide, yeah, you know what, we want to go to the same high school, and we want to win a title together, and or at least compete for one. I don't know if you necessarily have that in Lincoln. Lincoln has made strides, and give credit to Jim and the folks down there at the Lincoln Youth Football. They've made strides and leaps and bounds of progress in making that gap a little more narrow. But unfortunately, when you look at Omaha and you look at Lincoln, there is a gap. There's a gap, and that's just being honest. And
in pretty much all sports, it's not just football.
It is. I mean, I am excited, and that's part of state basketball this week. There's 3 girls teams in Class A state basketball this weekend from the Lincoln area: Lincoln Southeast, Lincoln North Star, and Lincoln Southwest. There's 3. boys, next week there's opportunities. There's an opportunity for Lincoln Southeast. There's an opportunity for Lincoln Southeast. Southwest. There's an opportunity for Lincoln Pius X. There's opportunities. It's just they need to get over the hump. And they've done that maybe in other sports. Football, though, most importantly, it feels like it's been a very long time since a Lincoln team was representing the capital city at Memorial Stadium, which then dips into crowds. And most of the time I get it. It's a cold November night when it's the state title game. But I'm tired of seeing Gretna coming down here. I'm tired of Bellevue West, and I'm tired of Omaha West Side. As somebody that's from the city of Lincoln, give credit to those teams. And as somebody that's been along for the ride, watching all of them, calling games for the last couple of years for it, it's really good football. But I'm ready for Lincoln to have a team there. I'm ready for a Lincoln Southwest, a Southeast, right? There's good coaches in place. It's how do you maintain and continue to develop? I think that's the biggest thing. That probably starts at the youth level.
And this is coming from the private school guys.
Yeah, it is.
The public school guys, right? Come on, public schools.
It is.
Pick it up.
I mean,
we believe in you. We want you to have it.
But to that point, unfortunately, the private schools haven't been that great. No. And so like that's, I'll be honest. And so I understand there's more people up in Omaha. There's a bigger pool to choose from.
But that can't be everything forever.
That can't be the excuse on why you're not competitive. It just can't be. And so I also wonder sometimes if going farther up the ladder, accountability. Like I wonder, and this gets to be a very dicey conversation because I'm not trying to say that like high school football coaches should be fired if they don't win a certain number of games. That's not what I'm trying to get to, and I don't think it's good for the sport. But I also do wonder if there's accountability, or are there people in place that are just hiring guys just to fill a spot and then not really aiding them. One thing that Omaha West Side does so well is that they have coaches in place that, number one, want to fully be there. And I'm not trying to, I don't know of any situation specifically to where high school coaches, and this is an issue across the board. I'm sure there's places up in Omaha too that have this problem. But my point is this: there are camps, there are opportunities to, and I don't know who funds this, who offers to fund it, who doesn't. There's camps, there's clinics, there's opportunities, more than just Nebraska's. Nebraska's is great, but there's other ones. There's ones where there's hundreds of college coaches in a single space that you have an opportunity. Allow your coaches to go. Fund your coaches to go. That should be, if you want to close this competitive gap between the two cities, those are things that you have to do. You have to invest in it. Don't tell us that, yeah, you know what, we care about our student athletes and we care about the sports or the athletics. And this conversation can be parallel with theater, with dance, with whatever. It can be the same. Don't tell us that you want to invest in it, and then when time comes around to invest in it, you don't. And so whoever that is, allow the coaches, if they want to go down to Missouri and listen to Elijah Drinkowitz, or if they want to go down to Texas and listen to a coaches clinic that has 100+ D1 coaches. Why? Because the money that you spend for those 4 days over that weekend allows so much more knowledge to be poured into the student athletes, to the high schoolers. And guess what? It creates a chain reaction to where if one staff does it, guess what? Other staffs have no choice but to catch up. And then it makes everybody as a collective whole better, which means athletes will want to come play there, which means athletes will stay at their schools if they're feeling like they're developing. And if they're developed, then they're going to go play college ball, which means Nebraska high school football is in a great spot. They are. It's already gotten better than years past, but there's still so much room that you can grow. That's just my little soapbox there, because there are a lot of opportunities, and some high schools take advantage of them. And the ones that are taking advantage of the coaches clinics, and not just I don't even know if they're free, not even just the Nebraska one. When you can take advantage of the coaches clinics, then that's when you can start to make leaps and bounds in the right direction.
We're not going to name names here, but I could probably guess the schools that have sent coaches consistently to coaches clinics and the ones that haven't. Like, I think there's a pretty clear difference there to some degree.
Right, because it shows up.
It does,
shows up
on Friday night.
Yeah.
That's where it's supposed to show up. I do think it'll be interesting too, is if these Nebraska programs, start to really make that investment at the high school level. Are these coaches that get a look at the college ranks, right? Because there's supposed to be that progression, right? For a player, you go from youth football to high school to college to the pros or whatever. It kind of feels like it's not always there for coaches, right? But I think about a guy like Chad Morris, right? Who coached high-level high school football in Texas, got a shot at Tulsa to be the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, went to Clemson, then has been a head coach all over the place, SMU, Arkansas, back to the Texas high school ranks. I can't name, many guys off the top of my head, Nick, that have that kind of pipeline from Nebraska. And again, I think as the athletes get better and the teams get better, coaches will get some of that recognition. But I'd be curious to know if Nebraska has dedicated coaches or if they're teachers doing a side job,
And that's the thing is, and this is once again, like part of the requirement I know is that you have to be a teacher to be involved in school, and whether that's a PE teacher, whether that's a science teacher, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying to get away from that rule. I'm not saying that that's not important or value or anything like that. And I'm not trying to also call anybody out, but also there needs to be a level of accountability. And I get it. Like, it might be hard to find somebody that's good for the job, or it might be tough because maybe guys, you're not getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars like you do down in Texas to come coach Nebraska high school football. So I understand that there are some challenges or speed bumps, but I guess what I'm getting at is that there is a way to continue to make sure that your program is on the right track. And maybe this falls on whether it's athletic directors, whether it's on superintendents, principals, LPS as a whole. I don't know how far you want to go up the ladder, but my point is this, that don't sit here and tell us and claim that you want to have successful sports, or if that you want Lincoln to be represented well, and then not act upon it. That's what's, I think, frustrating, not only for players, not only for parents, but also for us media members, because we love to be out there. We love to be at the games. We love to broadcast them. But unfortunately, it makes it tough to discuss them when there's not this 50-50 two-way relationship. That's what's disappointing, I think, at times.
I'll say this too, because I think it works, again, regardless of the level you're talking about. There's some chicken in the egg, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, the programs need to make sure they're investing in their coaches and their players, right? Show the commitment to them, the follow through that you're talking about. But at the same time, understand the economic realities here in Nebraska is that there's not those thousands of dollars to throw around. So yes, more resources would help. But I think to some degree, whether you're talking a high school program or a college program, athletic directors, school boards, boosters, whoever you want to throw in this conversation, they want to see you do more with less before they give you more.
Yeah. And I understand that. And I think it also, it takes a special type of coach to be willing and able to coach at the high school level. I think it does.
Absolutely.
I also think, and I'll here, since we're being honest and realistic with ourselves, I think parents play a part in it, right? Because there is pressure from the outside for people that aren't at the practices every day, that aren't attending every single game. There's pressure to make the hire that they want. And I just think that sometimes, we allow that to hinder us more than help us, and us being the collective group of just general sports fans that want good competitive play. I think just like the politics of everything and just youth sports in general are kind of creeping into every single gap and every single little hole that they can, waltz their way into. And it's sometimes corrupting it. And so I just like, there are some really, really, not only really kind coaches, and I enjoy talking to them when I have the opportunity. And I'm not saying, once again, to fire guys because they only win 4 games in a season. That's not what I'm getting at. It's that as a leader, as a boss of the coaches, just like DP does with us in a positive way, comes and talks, hey, what are we doing to improve? What are we continuously doing to get better? Like you said, Austin, are you making a hire that's helping your high school, your school, but also are you holding that coach accountable and saying, what's the plan? What's the next step? What do you need from me as somebody else that can go up the ladder, what do you need from me to get yourself in this program in a better spot? That's all it is.
Love it. Take your soapbox with you. Wherever you go. Travel.
I mean, that might have been hard for people to hear, and it might have been just kind of a vomit of words. But as somebody that is around it often, it's easy to see.
Also might be tough to hear. Your Cubs are down 6-0 to the Royals in Arizona.
I also just want Lincoln sports to be competitive.
Amen.
Right, Jay?
We got the Husker Hall of Famer walking in here, Jay Foreman.
We just want Lincoln sports to be competitive. Next. I want Lincoln at Memorial Stadium. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Pius. I don't care if it's Southeast, Southwest, Lincoln High. Just be competitive. Bring competitive. Get to the semis. I'm tired of Elkhorn and Gretna and Omaha in the semis, and Jay and I have to travel.
And the Benningtons. If Bennington can do it, and this is nothing against Bennington. If the way that they've built the program,
Austin, I took this on.
You can do it here.
Yep.
And I was listening to you guys as I was driving in, and I got a little side note. I've never seen dump trucks full of dirt driving through L Street on the way down.
Oh, is that right?
That needs to be outlawed.
Yep.
Where's the throughway? Now, also, we're going to dive into this the rest of the hour, this high school sports, because I mean, I've been chastised for it. I won't say any names.
We didn't say a single name this last segment. I think we got our point across.
I'm notoriously, I don't like a high school coach around here. I don't really care for him. But also,
time for me to get out of here.
No. Stay right here, Nick.
I gotta get out of here.
One of my former teammates' wives gave me the business one time. I tweeted out about Lincoln High School sports. So we got a funny story about it at the end of this hour. But we got about 20 minutes we can dive into what's good, what needs to drastically get better, and there's no more excuses.
There we go.
We're here.
That's old school. Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer. I'm Austin Norman. Old school. Next.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with 4 Lincoln locations, but now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios at 1040 O Street.
Mosaic is a nonprofit, whole-person healthcare organization that embraces God's call and relentlessly pursues opportunities that empower people with diverse needs to live their best lives. Mosaic in Southeast Nebraska, serving Lincoln and Beatrice, would like to invite you to their monthly Discover the Possibilities tour events. Events are held on the 3rd Wednesday of every month and are a great way to understand Mosaic's mission. To RSVP, please contact Melindy at 402-429-0088 or visit mosaicinfo.org/Southeast Nebraska.
Imagine a healthier, more active, physically fit version of yourself. If you've been putting off getting into shape, now is the time with the Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping 10-week challenge. Our program combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching to help you achieve your fitness goals. And ticket listeners, you can get $150 off the enrollment fee. The next challenge begins on March 23rd.